This week on A&N, the Seventh-day Adventist Church's spring meetings will be held virtually.
Adventist leaders in Vanuatu ask for prayers as a tropical cyclone hits the island nation.
And the Adventist Development and Relief Agency helps with the COVID-19 pandemic in different areas around the world.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
As you can see, like most of the world, A&N producers and anchors are staying home, but we still want to bring you news from the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church.
The novel coronavirus known as COVID-19 has spread globally since the end of 2019. On January 30, the World Health Organization, or WHO, declared the coronavirus a global health emergency, and on March 11, the WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic. At the time of this recording, the virus has infected more than 1.4 million people. There have been more than 83,000 associated deaths and 309,000 recoveries. Those numbers continue to rise rapidly.
For as long as this pandemic lasts and we're at home, we will continue to bring you news of how the church is helping and working, but we promise to do our best to give you news of hope and humor as well.
This year, the spring meetings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church will be held and streamed online due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Spring meeting is one of two annual gatherings of the Adventist Church's Executive Committee.
The Executive Committee is the second highest governing body of the Seventh-day Adventist Church after the General Conference session, which occurs every 5 years.
In between sessions, the Executive Committee has the authority to act on behalf of the General Conference in session.
It has the power to appoint committees, employ personnel, elect or remove administrators, and effect the retirement of an elected or appointed position before the expiration of the term for which they have been elected.
During spring meeting, the Executive Committee receives the audited financial reports of the General Conference and transacts regular Executive Committee business.
This year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the spring meetings will be held online on April 14 and 15 from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We will report next week on what happened during the 2020 spring meetings, but you can watch the live transmission at live.adventist.org.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, has been working to help those impacted with the COVID-19 pandemic. ADRA is the Adventist Church's humanitarian agency.
Emergency Management Director for ADRA International, Mario Oliveira, says ADRA has also been affected by this virus in the way we deliver humanitarian aid. Many of ADRA's international programs have been redirected to include a COVID-19 component, taking advantage of the infrastructure, personnel, and the trust of the communities.
Oliveira adds that ADRA is supporting vulnerable and underserved communities, especially low-income families, elderly people, individuals facing layoffs, and many more, to ensure they receive needed assistance.
In order to reduce the spread of COVID-19, ADRA's workers are on the front lines of the coronavirus response, providing a range of assistance that varies from country to country.
Oliveira adds that this includes the distribution of hand sanitizers, food kits, cash vouchers, face masks, as well as hygiene awareness and training, advice for communities and health workers to ensure that they stay healthy, and much more.
ADRA continues to deliver care in partnership with Latter-day Saints charities to help more than 77,000 households around the world where lives have been disrupted during the coronavirus pandemic. Plans are also in place to assist communities long-term during the recovery phase.
Seventh-day Adventists around the South Pacific and the world are being urged to pray for the people of Vanuatu, which has been pummeled by Tropical Cyclone Harold.
The Category 5 cyclone has brought torrential rain and 149-mile-per-hour winds to the island nation. Vanuatu's largest island, Santo, is bearing the brunt of the wild conditions, with reports of widespread damage.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in the region has a field office in Santo, equipped with water, sanitation, and hygiene, or WASH kits, donated by the New Zealand government and ready for distribution.
ADRA Vanuatu Country Director Richard Greenwell said ADRA has established an evacuation center at Sarakata Adventist Church in Luganville. More than 20 ADRA-trained youth are going door to door and transporting vulnerable residents. Other evacuation shelters are likely to be set up in Adventist churches. A network of new churches rated to Category 5 resilience were built after Tropical Cyclone Pam in 2015.
The cyclone passed the Solomon Islands earlier, where it did not make landfall but caused a lot of flooding. The National Disaster Management Office is coordinating an initial damage assessment in partnership with non-government organizations, including ADRA.
The cyclone has come at a particularly challenging time as Vanuatu is under a state of emergency because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's borders are closed and mass gatherings have been banned. However, the government has lifted social distancing restrictions to allow people to gather at the evacuation centers.
And now we'll give you some more short stories from around the world.
Each week during the COVID-19 pandemic, the president of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church will release a short message to encourage members around the world. The videos will appear on Elder Wilson's Facebook page, as well as the church's YouTube page. Just search on youtube.com and search for the Seventh-day Adventist and click on videos. You'll also be able to see the messages on news.adventist.org.
Also, each week, the communication department of the Adventist Church will interview leaders, pastors, and doctors from around the world on issues that impact members during the pandemic. So far, these topics have ranged from mental health to coping with domestic violence while families are stuck at home. You can watch live the Adventist Church's Facebook page at facebook.com/Adventist Church and our YouTube channel. Make sure you keep an eye out for dates and times.
In North America, 3 services operating within the region have remained committed to serving the disenfranchised population in their communities as they face daily evolving challenges and the potential dangers presented by the coronavirus disease.
The Omega Seventh-day Adventist Church in New Haven, Connecticut has turned its fellowship hall into a warming center for some of the city's homeless population. Every day, up to 70 clients have benefited from a warm place to stay overnight and 2 meals, dinner and breakfast. The clients also have access to showers through the Adventist Community Services Showers of Blessings mobile shower van. Yoga mats and pillows for sleeping are also provided by the church.
In Paradise, California, residents are still reeling from wildfires that devastated that area. MedSpire is a mobile health clinic that formed in the immediate aftermath of the Paradise fires. It provided medical care since healthcare facilities had been destroyed. Prior to social distancing directives from local officials, the clinic operated twice a month. Now, in order to continue serving the community, MedSpire has transitioned to a telemedical clinic where patients call a number to share their symptoms. MedSpire's clinic also offers to drop off supplies or shop for groceries for the elderly or high-risk residents. The clinic's paramedic now operates as a shopper for patients of this demographic.
And Adventist Community Services of Greater Washington, or ACSGW, operates many services for low-income families of Montgomery County, Maryland. In recent years, they have operated one of the strongest food pantries in the Washington, D.C. region. While others in the area operate on a monthly basis, ACSGW has its food services available on a weekly basis by appointment. As many businesses closed in response to guidance issued by local officials, many families' source of income has been temporarily stripped away, leaving them in greater need of support. As of April 1, ACSGW has provided more than 27,000 pounds of staples, produce, dairy, and baked goods to 425 families.
For more information on the stories from North America, visit nadadventist.org.
Coming up, we talk to Stewardship Director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Marcos Bomfin, about online giving resources.
We'll be back right after the break.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath, and we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
With Adventist churches around the world closing their doors due to the COVID-19 pandemic, where and how can we continue to faithfully return our tithes and offerings?
We have the Stewardship Director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Marcos Bomfin, with us today to talk about how important it is to still give to your church and where you can find online giving resources. Hi, Pastor Bomfin.
Hello, Emily.
Thank you so much for joining us on ANN today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, well, thank you. So stewardship, tithing, can you explain to us why giving is so important?
Let me make a difference between giving like donation and financial spiritual giving. any giving is very important. It will affect our character. It will affect our inner being. But it may have no effect on our spiritual life. Only the financial spiritual giving will have some effect in our spiritual life.
So what is the difference between a promise, tithe, and an offering?
Well, tithe has a predetermined percentage established by God and is used mainly to provide for the authorized ministry, those who work 24/7 for advancing God's kingdom. But promise is used to identify, we use that word promise to identify regular and systematic offering. And that offering is alluded on Proverbs 3, verses 9 and 10, which says, "Honor the Lord with your possessions and with the first fruits of all your increase." And then the promise is that, "So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine." So why we call promise? Because understanding this text and also Malachi 3, verses 8 to 10, where this offering is also alluded to, we see that God is expecting us to give not only tithe, but also an offering after, not before, after every giving. Every time He is giving us something.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to be consistent in our giving, we decide a percentage to give as offering. We call that a promise because we kind of promise. I decide a percentage. Let's suppose, like, I will mention a random number like 5, 7, 10, 3%. I decide that percentage. And so every time God is giving me something, I will return my offering along with my tithe.
Mm.
And I am not returning my offering because the church is asking me, because there is a beautiful project, because someone is asking me from the pulpits to do that, or because I like the pastor or the missionaries. No, I give based on God's giving. Each time God is giving me, I will give. Even though there is no call, even though no one is asking me, because my giving is not as much related with the church as it is related with God, as a recognition of what is God giving me before.
So many people, millions in the US and around the world, have lost their jobs and they're worried about finances and about giving. What can they still do to give back to their churches?
Well, let me from the beginning say something that I consider very important. God is not expecting any tithe or offering from those who have not received any income of increase from Him, not even the church. We are not supposed to start the process of giving. God is ever the one who starts it. So, and the very theology of tithe and promise, that kind of regular and systematic offerings, it's established to teach us that truth, that God is the initiator. He is the one that begins that process. So if God is not giving me anything, He's not expecting me anything. And you can watch a video that is available in our website and also in our YouTube channel. And the title is, "How much is the tithe of zero?" Your tithe is zero because the tithe of zero is zero. So don't, in this case, you don't give anything and you are faithful, 100% faithful, because tithe is supposed to be given only after God's giving. So God is ever the first to give. And when I recognize that what I have received came from Him, then I will tithe. On the other hand, when I don't tithe, I am, after receiving something, I am stating that I don't believe that God is the one that is giving me.
Yeah, that's really important to remember for each of us. Like, God is always there providing for us. You've created new resources for people in the area of stewardship and giving. Where can people find these resources and what can they expect to see?
Oh, well, if you would like to have resources for your church or even for your own growth, you can go to stewardship.adventist.org. I will say again, stewardship.adventist.org. Or if you just Google Adventist Stewardship, first website that will appear, it's the GC website. You will find commitment cards, free books, very interesting books, offertory videos and videos for millennials in training them, educating them on stewardship, on tithes and promise. I mean, there is a lot of resources, and you can just go there and choose what seems best to you. But we have just now launched giving options for those who are unable to bring their offerings to the church. And this page can be found not in the stewardship website, but in the Seventh-day Adventist Church website. So you go to adventist.org/giving. I will say again, adventist.org/giving. And in this page, you will find a lot of giving options during these difficult times we are facing now, when most of our churches are closed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really believe that this will be helpful to a lot of people. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
For more information about online giving, visit adventist.org/giving. Coming up, the next video in the Dear Coronavirus series highlights those who are recovering from the illness.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares a story about a young lady in Zimbabwe.
Welcome back.
Mercy was determined to become a lawyer, even if it meant leaving her friends and family to study on the island of Cyprus.
But then she found an Adventist church not far from her campus.
Adventist Mission has more.
Mercy was determined to become a lawyer, even if it meant leaving her friends and family to study on the island of Cyprus. The sights, the food, and the languages were so different from what she was used to in Zimbabwe.
When I first came here, there was like some sort of cultural shock, for sure. It was different from what I was used to.
With her friends and family thousands of miles away, Mercy felt lonely. She missed her local Adventist church in Zimbabwe, so she went online and found an English-speaking Adventist congregation not far from campus.
The church helped me, because that's where I met my friends. Every week I look forward to come to church, because that's where I feel welcomed and I feel at home.
Mercy quickly realized she wasn't alone. She met others living in Cyprus from all over the globe. Many of them were also far from family and friends and were experiencing loneliness. To satisfy various language needs, there are several Adventist congregations in Nicosia, the capital city. One holds services in Greek, another in Bulgarian, and the third in English. Most weeks they meet separately, but occasionally they come together as one big group. This Adventist community is known as a place where all are welcomed, so it isn't unusual for international residents and students of various faiths to attend church here.
We embrace everyone, and like most of us students are not Adventists. It's just like a few who are Adventists, but like we are all treated the same and they are well taken care of by the church.
Things were going well as Mercy made more friends at church, but it didn't take long for her to run into other obstacles during her first year of school.
At school, my exam was on a Saturday and I couldn't take it on a Saturday. So I went to talk to them and they didn't allow me to take it on a different day. I felt so crushed and I felt so defeated that I even cried. That's when I ran to the pastor And then I told him, and he wrote a letter to the school. We prayed, and I got so encouraged to know that there are people behind me, and there are people who support what you believe in. And then they allowed me to write the exam on a different date. And as a miracle, it was on my birthday when I wrote that exam, and I got an A.
The Adventist Church in Cyprus is determined to be a refuge for anyone who needs community, whether they were born on the island or are far from home. Through Christ's method of ministry, the members spread a message of hope throughout the island. There are many challenges that prevent the gospel from being shared, including language barriers, social inequality, and a general disinterest in religion. Mercy's Church in Nicosia is working harder to meet the physical and spiritual needs of the community. Currently, their rented space limits what they can do, but one day they hope to have a building of their own. This quarter, a portion of your 13th Sabbath offering will construct an urban center of influence and church for the congregations in Nicosia, Cyprus. Please consider how you can support this work so more people can find a church family and feel at home.
I want to encourage especially students or those people who are working here have to know that we can't take care of our own selves without the Lord. We have to trust God. So I want them to put all their trust in God, and He's gonna make everything well. Everything is going to be beautiful.
Thank you for your support of the 13th Sabbath offering.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click videos at the top.
Last week on ANN, we interviewed Adrian Dure from Hope Media Germany about the Dear Coronavirus Project, which you can watch at news.adventist.org.
This week, for our social media segment, we're going to share the third video from that project, a message to coronavirus from people who are infected with the virus.
Hola, me llamo Pedro y jamás pensé que llegaría a tener que decir esto. Tengo el coronavirus. La primera vez que escuché de ti, parecía todo mentira, muy lejano, historias inventadas, un problema de alguien que no era yo, un problema muy lejano, hasta que te fuiste acercando poco a poco, casi imperceptiblemente. Yo no sé quién ha sido tu GPS para encontrarme, no sé quién te ha guiado, pero has llegado a mi vida, sin permiso, y te has metido en mi cuerpo, en mis entrañas.
Suddenly, my bones weakened, my strength is gone.
Mon corps a subi des changements.
La paura è apparsa.
Da, multă frică.
Rädslor.
Dubbi. Incertitude.
Ovisshet.
Unsicherheiten.
Multă incertitudine.
And what seemed to be a very distant thing, without asking permission, today is inside me.
In mir drin.
Dentro di me.
Här inne.
Un mouvement dans mon corps, les santé s'apprend.
Caro coronavirus.
Déjame ser claro contigo.
Du kan ta bort min styrka.
Tu peux affaiblir mon corps.
Mi potresti impaurire e terrorizzare.
Te rog, permitem să-ți povestesc ceva.
I am not alone.
Io non sono sola.
Ich bin nicht allein.
No, porque alguien está a mi lado.
Si prende cura di noi.
Stödjer mig.
Mă încurajează.
I don't see him, but I feel him.
Et quoi qu'il arrive, je sais qu'il y a quelqu'un qui me soutient.
Wir sind nicht allein. Noi non siamo soli.
Nous ne sommes pas seuls.
Aldrig kommer vi att vara ensamma i det här livet.
Dumnezeu este cu mine.
Gott ist mit dir.
God is with you.
Dio è con me.
Dios está a nuestro lado. siempre.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
Throughout the whole of this week in Adventist history and beyond, April 3 through 12 in 1934, church workers from across the Canadian Union Conference met in Oshawa, Ontario. The Union had only been created 2 years earlier by the merger of the Eastern Canadian and Western Canadian Unions, and this was the first ever meeting of pastors and other church workers from the whole of Canada. On April 4, 1907, the country of Bolivia was separated from the Chile-Bolivian mission. All of the existing 290 members in that mission lived in Chile. The newly constituted Bolivian mission had just 2 members, both of them foreign missionaries, in a population of 2 million people. Today, Bolivia's total population is over 10 million, and over 100,000 of them are Seventh-day Adventists. 4 years and a day earlier, on April 3, 1903, the Secretary of the General Conference, William A. Spicer, made an appeal to the 1903 General Conference session to do more in China, where the first Adventist minister, John Anderson, had only arrived the year before. Spicer shared with the session Anderson's idea that every conference in America send one of its laborers to enter that great land. Spicer continued, "It may be thought too much, and that it is not a practical suggestion, but surely it would not be too much for the 400 million people of China. These 50 years we have heard of the woes and sorrows of China, but during these 50 years we have never told suffering China of the glorious message of salvation that God has given to us." Today, this church is growing in the People's Republic of China, but its more than 1 billion people still pose a significant challenge to the Seventh-day Adventist Church's task of reaching the world. That was this week in Adventist history.
Thanks for watching in, and join us next week for more news from around the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Please remain safe and well as we all face this new reality together.
Remember that each of you can be pillars of hope and peace in your communities. Look for ways to help each other.
Remember to continually pray for each other, look out for each other, and lift each other up.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Adventist News and on Facebook.com/Adventist News. You can reach us at annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 11.
The passage says, "With this in mind, we constantly pray for you, that our God may make you worthy of his calling, and that by his power he may bring to fruition your every desire for goodness and your every deed prompted by faith."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.